adventures of Jumping Worm continue. Today's fantastic story is titled, Jumping Worm's Wonderful Discovery. Once upon a time, there lived a small worm named Jumping Worm. He was very curious and eager to explore. One day, Jumping Worm decided to embark on a grand adventure to explore the world around him. As Jumping Worm navigated through the tunnels beneath the ground, he suddenly came across a brightly colored stone. Intrigued by what this stone could be, Jumping Worm began to examine it closely. The patterns on the stone fascinated him, and he thought it held a mystery for him. Jumping Worm decided to follow the stone, marking the beginning of his great discovery. The stone led him towards the depths of the forest. With excitement, Jumping Worm continued forward. Deep within the forest, Worm encountered colorful and strange creatures he had never seen before. He met them and listened to stories of their different worlds and adventures. These encounters fueled Jumping Worm's curiosity and excitement even more. Eventually, Jumping Worm was met with a big surprise at the stone's final destination. The stone had brought him to the base of a hill that rose towards the sky. Climbing to the top of the hill, Jumping Worm began to observe his surroundings. In the sky, colorful balloons flew, birds sang songs, and clouds took on shapes. Jumping Worm was enchanted by this beauty and took time to enjoy everything he saw. After a while, Jumping Worm noticed something. At the hill's summit, he saw a piece of paper that seemed to be part of an old map. This led Jumping Worm on a new journey of discovery. Jumping Worm began to follow the direction shown on the map. Along the way, he encountered many interesting and different creatures. Some helped him, while others tried to hinder him, but Jumping Worm continued determinedly. Finally, he arrived at the location indicated by the map. It was like an ancient library. Excitedly, Jumping Worm entered and looked around. Shelves filled with books captivated him. As Jumping Worm wandered through the library, he came across a book. It looked old and dusty, but it had mysterious symbols on it. Jumping Worm picked up the book and began to examine it, trying to decipher the symbols. After much effort, Jumping Worm realized the symbols formed a map. This map directed him towards another adventure. Eagerly following the map, Jumping Worm left the library. The map led him to a deep and mysterious cave. The cave held a magnificent secret. Jumping Worm ventured deeper into the cave to discover the secret and eventually reached a room where a mysterious treasure was located. When Jumping Worm saw the glitter of the treasure, he was mesmerized, but reaching the treasure required overcoming challenging obstacles. Bravely, he navigated through the obstacles and finally reached the treasure. Finding the treasure was a great achievement for Worm, but the real importance was the adventure itself. The sound beckoned Jumping Worm deeper into the cave. Gathering his courage, Jumping Worm decided to follow the sound. As he ventured deeper, the mystery and magic of the cave intensified. Finally, Jumping Worm reached the source of the sound. Entering a room, his eyes were dazzled. The room was like a magnificent library. The walls were covered with hundreds of books, and a massive table stood in the center. Jumping Worm began to examine a book on the table. The book opened up worlds he had never known before. The stories inside enchanted him and invigorated his imagination. Jumping Worm learned much from the books and gained the courage to set sail on new adventures. Now, No secret or adventure was out of reach for him. Every new discovery was a door to the next adventure. Eventually, Worm decided to leave the library, but the experience had been unforgettable for him. Now, he was determined to explore mysterious places around the world and was ready for new adventures. I'm sweet girl, Linda. Our story ends here, dear friends. If you like adventure stories like this, I'm always telling them. If you subscribe to my channel, you will find more stories that you will enjoy and have fun with. See you in new adventures. Goodbye.